sorry about that. You guys had a medical emergency that I had to go and take care of. Let me see here. Let me get to all my stuff. So, my grandfather had a bit of a dizzy spell, probably because he's not feeling good and he's got sugar issues. Plus, he's also 95 years old. So, happens. Had to go pick him up out of the floor and clean up all his wounds and get all the blood up and stuff like that. So everything's good, at least to my knowledge. But it's since I have decided to do this week, let me tell y'all what I have been feeling or having nothing but spiritual attacks ever since, and it's been rough, been kind of crazy. But when you try to help people out and expose things that they don't want exposed, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I mean, it's just part of it, you know? So, because of that, I'm a little bit fired up now, a little bit mad. Not at him, obviously. He can't help that. But, that they would. I'm seeing it more of like a bit of an attack vector, right? To kind of interrupt what's going on and the plan, But all's well. Before I left, I sat there and prayed for him, and I know that he was conscious again once we got him in bed, because he kind of elbowed me in the face. So I know he's there. I know he's all right. Funny. But because I'm fired up and a bit, feeling ornery about it now, we're going to do something just a wee bit different. We're going to start this part 2 off with a prayer. So, before I do, I just need one thing from you guys. I need y'all to be in agreement with me. Cool? Cool. All right, let's do this. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to gather and have a good time. Lord Jesus, I just want to thank you for, letting us know that no weapon formed against us will prosper. Lord, I ask you in Jesus' name to put a hedge of protection around us, all of us, Lord. Keep us safe, keep us in good health, and let this go off in the direction that you want it to go. In Jesus' precious holy name I pray. And we all said, amen. All right, let's do this because now I'm fired up and mad. So, on my notes, I was going into Job 38, but I was stumbling a little bit and it was getting me mad on Deuteronomy 32. And as I had a little bit of spare time, I was looking up and I was trying to figure something out. Verse 8. All right, so let's backtrack a little bit. Deuteronomy 32. Let's go back to verse 8, okay? So it was the end of what I was quoting from. And it says on my notes, when the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind. There is a comma there, not a period. I don't know why my notes didn't copy and paste it. But that comma is super important because, let's see here. Let's just read it from here. When the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of the people according to the number of the sons of God. Period. Mic drop. What's up, Ash? What's up, buddy? That comma, oh man, that threw me off. That's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes technology doesn't want to work right when you're doing this stuff, because I know I highlighted all that and put paste. But, the music stopped. That sucks. You know what? Boom. Let's do something a little bit more upbeat because, yeah, we're gonna get the sinister music off. So yeah, divided the number of the nations according to the sons of God. Super important to finish that off, right? Super important. Because granted, I did my best to paraphrase that because I knew that there was something missing there. But anyways, that's a pretty big deal. Think about this. How many times have we heard stories, where somebody's interviewing like a missionary or something like that, and they end up having some kind of demonic attack or whatever. And in the demons that they end up dealing with is basically saying, we have dominion here. What are you doing here? This is our spot. We have dominion. How is it that they can claim that? Well, because the nations were divided and they were given over to them. They were supposed to be doing a good job and shepherding people in the way that they were supposed to live, like they were supposed to be doing a good job taking care of this, where God was like, look, my inheritance for right now is going to be Israel. I'm going to do my thing there, set this up because I got a plan to fix all this, right? And they utterly failed. They utterly failed. I said that. But we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm just trying my best to follow the line of thinking before we get to some of the juicy stuff. All right. So now we can go back, get to where I left off in the notes at Job 38. Now, as I was saying in Job 38, verse 4, God is basically kind of like lecturing Job a little bit. And it's important to kind of understand it for context wise. So here we go. God is saying to Job, where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? On what were its bases sunk? Or who laid its cornerstones? When the morning stars sang together, there's that stars thing, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. It's important to remember Job is the oldest book of the Bible. The oldest. What's that mean? This whole people wanting to translate things, from sons of God to sons of Israel couldn't have happened yet because Israels were not a thing. Like do better. That line of thinking cannot happen because it did not exist. Therefore, referring to them as the sons of God which is the way it is written, is the only way to translate it. It's the only way. It's the only way it works. Now, a little bit more to go back on here from Job still. Let's go back to Job chapter 1, starting with verse 6. All right, this is interesting. All right, so it says, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. That's interesting. The Lord said to Satan, from where have you come? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro on the earth and from walking up and down it. This is, once again, like we're pointing out sons of God, right? Like that's the main purpose of me to bring this up so that I can keep emphasizing this and drive this home. However, another fun aside, like rabbit hole to like go down with this is some of the translations have Satan saying, like to and fro, walking upon the earth and under it. Hollow earth, anybody? That's a fun little rabbit hole. That's a real fun one. So that's one that I would say, like, if you want to do a little bit of extracurricular activity and do some more checking down on fun rabbit holes, that's one to go check out. All right. So next, Okay. The point is, God has a divine council. That is what the sons of God are. That is what their purpose is. All right. And they were given dominion over all the nations after Babel, which is what we established from reading Deuteronomy. All right. Blah, 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 blah. I already covered that. And, well, let's cover that after this. All right. So, we'll check StreamYard and see what y'all are saying. Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's go to a very interesting verse that people love to struggle with, even though it's so easy. Because, I've basically lined this all out for you guys at this point. Like, if you can't see it at this point, it's like, oh, well, I guess I'd be just doing a bad job or something, right? I don't know. Anyways. So, it's called a Psalm of Asaph. I'm not sure how relevant that is, but the chapter is, or it's Psalm 82. People like to get hung up on this, and they're like, how does this work? All right? Yeah. All right, so God has taken his place in the divine council. In the midst of the gods, he holds judgment. So like a lot of, I believe the most far back translation of, just verse 1 here is, Elohim sits in judgment of Elohim among the divine council. Something like that, referring to, not making it so that it's like, okay, Elohim judges Elohim. And obviously he's not judging himself. Like, if you want to be like, oh, yeah, Trinity, yeah. No, he doesn't have issue with himself. That's not how that works. So it can only be the sons of God, right? Right. It only makes sense. All right, so let's keep going. God's talking to them, and he says, how long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Ooh. Give justice to the weak and the fatherless, he says. Maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute. So he's like going in on them like, you guys are messing up hard. What are you doing, right? Verse 4. Rescue the weak and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked. They have neither knowledge nor understanding. They walk about in darkness. So, let's finish the verse. All the foundations of the earth are shaken. Why? Because they're messing up. They had their job to do, and they are messing up. Ruling unjustly. They're doing all this craziness and allowing all this wickedness to happen, right? Verse 6. I said, you are gods. Interesting. In this, I will mention that when he says gods, lowercase g, that's how it's written. Sons of the Most High, all of you. Nevertheless, like men, you shall die and fall like any prince. Okay, so then it comes here. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for you shall inherit all the nations. Which, that's epic foreshadowing for Jesus, right? Epic foreshadowing. So what's going on? What's happening? What is like... hold on. Making sure things are kosher. What's happening, right? What's going on? All right. So obviously he's laying into them like really hard, right? And as I pointed out earlier, they're messing up. They're doing wrong. They're promoting, all this basically wickedness to thrive. And if you need to like have an understanding of all that, just look at what the other nations are writing about in this time. This is ancient times. This was like let's see here. Granted, I don't know like when the context of this meeting actually happens, but Psalms, that would be what, David or Solomon? So that's at least 1000 BC, you know. But I mean, just look at the stories that the other nations are talking about. Look at, I mean, the Greeks are the probably like the best example, right? Look at all the silliness and shenanigans that their pantheon's getting up to. Zeus is taking like all these women like constantly and having little demigods, you know, Hercules and all that. Like, you know, like this is still happening. These sons of God that have dominion are, they keep on coming down there and getting tempted and are like, you know, they're kind of worshiping us and doing all this crazy stuff. Ooh, this blood sacrifice stuff is kind of crazy. We're not supposed to be allowing it, but it's kind of feeling good, right? Oh, they want me to come down there and do what? You know what? I think I will go down there and make a little demigod. That'd be kind of fun. We need some more heroes, men of renown running around to do some stuff. We got some stuff that needs a doing. But the important part to remember is like in stories like that, right? That, for instance, in the case of like Zeus, for instance, he doesn't take them as a wife. Super important, because they learned way back when Genesis happened that that's a bad idea. God doesn't like that. And he gets pretty upset when you do that. Right? Interesting. Sorry, I've got stuff going on here. Understandable, right? So, yeah, they're not taking them as wives. They're just taking them in this, doing this and creating. Right? We get some interesting stories out of it. Yeah, I mean, there is that, but I mean, it's not supposed to happen. It's an abomination, right? But let's keep going. Let's keep going because we're fixing to get there a little bit too. All right, so how we know this is going on, we get a little bit of insight from Daniel chapter 2, verse 43. Okay. And the important part to understand is, one, this is like Daniel interpreting a dream for like Nebuchadnezzar or something like that. I can't remember, you know, but he's laying it out there like it is. All right, so let's just read this. It says, and whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall not mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. Oh, that was super important. They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. Okay. Now, okay, cool. I know where I'm going from here on. That's the rest of my notes. All right, so awesome. What is this word cleave? What does this word cleave mean? All right. So essentially what this word is described as meaning is it's a marriage contract, right? So saying that they shall not cleave, but yet they're still going to mingle their seed. They're not going to take anybody into marriage like they did, but they're still going to mingle. Right? So, this, like I was saying earlier, is what they learned. You know, don't take them into marriage, but still go ahead and do this. You know? And, you know, at the very least, yeah, I guess they're going to avoid the curse, you know, that happens, you know, to the humans. You know, that would suck. I'm sure it did, poor things, but whatever. You know, you know, if you're not going to take anybody in marriage and you're still going to reproduce offspring, you're still going to be out there producing these demigods, essentially, you know, what, biblically speaking, we would call Nephilim. What does this sound like? Well, first of all, I would say that, it's because of this that you see them ultimately show up into Exodus, right? When they talk about the Nephilim and all those tribes that they encountered when they come and reconquer the Holy Land. They had come here. The Holy Land is inhabited by all these giant tribes, the Raphaim, Zuzaim, Horim, all these things, right? First of all, why is that? Well, if they know that this is supposed to be the promised land and the enemy is like, I'm not going to let you do that. I'm going to go set up my shop over here and just make you take it, right? I'm going to try to mess up everything that I can for you. That's why those guys are here. And okay, so there are similarities here. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. Where have we heard this story of hybridization before? Anybody in the chat got a good guess? What does it sound like? We want to make these hybrid beings for a special purpose. Modern day abductions. As far as, aliens. We hear about this all the time. Why? Oh, because they want to elevate the human race. Why? Make us better. Why? To elevate us from, like, how do you elevate the human race by having a couple hybrids in there? You can't. You have to replace the human race. Right? I mean, because we are who we are, and there's nothing going to change that. Yeah, we might have some cultural changes here and there and be like, we're not cool with this anymore, not cool with that anymore. But at the same time, I mean, people are people. People be crazy. People be whack, right? If you do this and start introducing this stuff in there, can you eventually change it and elevate people like at the DNA level? I mean, you could. Theoretically, I mean, that was the whole point of the seed war that took place in Genesis 3 that I've talked to you guys about at the beginning of part 1. We're the whole plan of the enemy is to mess up the genealogical line of man so that most importantly, that Jesus couldn't come through because he couldn't be tainted with that. That's why Noah and his family was spared from the flood. His line was the only line that was pure. Everything else was getting far too diluted, So that's the thing. Alien abduction stories. We want to introduce our genetics into human genetics. We're not going to marry any of them. We're just going to take them and pretty much come out to what, is Concord grapes. I don't think anybody willingly chose to do that. It's interesting. You don't hear a whole lot of stories about people being like willing about that, do we? Like, I'm going to seek out and try to make a hybrid. That is my goal. Like, we don't hear abduction stories about that. I mean, we hear about, people encountering essentially like a hybrid during like an abduction story and being like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Like, there's a couple of those out there, and some of them are kind of funny, but we're not here to talk about those, but the point is, like, they don't seek out that as like their motivation to do it, right? Like, I mean, that's not how it works. It's always the opposite. It's always Concord grapes involved, and that's sad, and it reflects a lot of their modality. I mean, they're fallen. That's the way they would rather go about doing things. The only time where it's slightly different is when we're talking about like the occult, right? We think about who was it, like Jack Parsons or something like that, wanting to essentially create a moon child to bring about the spirit of the whore of Babylon that is talked about in Revelations before the beast comes to power. You know, which, you know, in and of itself, like that whole spiritual type entity that is the whore of Babylon is a very interesting thing, and you can find the ties to that going into a lot of things. You know, she has a lot of names throughout history too. Diana. There was another one. Who's the other one? Gaia. There's one more. One more whose name is escaping me. Did I say Diana? Sophia. Sophia. That's the other one. That's the other one. You know, when I think about the Blood So story, I'm sure you guys know about the whole Blood So Said So podcast, right? That female entity that claims to be God, you know, and I've encountered something very similar to that in my CE5 experiences, talking with a well, I mean, she said she was an Anunnaki, but she also said that she was God, so whatever. But this whole Sophia / Diana / whatever you want to talk about, you know, give whatever name you want to attribute to her. That is like what they were trying to do with that whole, I can't remember what the name of that working was called, but, you know, bring about that spirit from the into the flesh onto this plane. That was the whole goal of that, you know. So, like, there is people that are willing to do so, but, you know, that takes lots of ritual and work and sacrifice on their part to be able to try to even attempt. But we don't hear that in the case of UFOs, right? We just hear people being taken and then genetics being either harvested from them against their will or Concord grapes. I mean, that's it. Just look at Karen Wilkinson's story, right? I mean, Karen is awesome person. I love Miss Karen so much. She is just the best, y'all. But I mean, it's the same thing with her, right? And she ended up having hybrid children, and they did everything in their power, like eventually, as far as the story goes that I remember, to try and, you know, persuade her, be like, look, you need to drop all this religious stuff and you need to come and do what we're doing. You need to come and serve our gods, essentially, and live for the world and keep on bringing apart all these, or bringing into the world all these hybrids. We hear that a lot. We hear that a lot. It's the same tactic. It's the same trick that's been happening since time immemorial. These things have not changed at all. It's still the same modalities, the same methods. It just is. I mean, look at all of it. Look at any of it. Look at all these stories from mythology and see how when these demigods are created or whatever, like you'll see the same common threads. Why? Well, I mean, these people that are following these sons of God that have dominion do these rituals. They come down and they make a hybrid. That's why they're there in Exodus. That's why they're there all throughout the world. It doesn't matter the culture that we talk about or listen to or look at. It's all the same. Hey, what up, Josh? What's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Yeah. So, yeah, it's the same calling card. You know, it's very unoriginal. You know, people say the same thing about, well, pretty much everything, you know, as far as the elites and the stunts they try to pull, or like reptilian overlords or whatever. Like, you know, that's one of the things people are like, you know, they do the same thing over and over again. They're so unoriginal. Yeah. Common threads. You just got to pull them and be like, oh, where's this go? Where's this go? Oh, it goes there. Ah, makes sense. Makes sense. nothing new under the sun. It's just how it goes. Just how it goes. But yeah, I think. Not unless something else comes up to my mind. I think that actually finishes up where I wanted to go with things. So, guys, y'all start putting up things in the comments, and I will finish riffing a little. And like I said, like I'm sorry I had to go take care of stuff and kind of like interrupt the flow. Sucks, but I mean, it's not that big a deal. I've got to take care of it, so I have no issues with that. I mean, I'm not saying I'm sorry that I had to go do that, but more like, sorry that the show was interrupted. And like I said, like it's been spiritual attacks for me all week ever since I put the episode live, like scheduled it. It's been nothing but attack. So it's been crazy for me. But nah, no big deal. It's part of it. But let's see here. How do we start wrapping things up? Well, I guess I could say that you guys have 15 minutes left if you want to go by the store and get 10% off on your merch, because I got shirts. Look at this cool thing. Check this out. My DBZ themed shirt came in. So just like, Goku's uniform, he's got like the little small turtle emblem there on the front and the big one on the back. I got the big one on the back. Check this out. Ooh, look at Squash. Training to catch a giant monkey. Right? Isn't that cool? Go out there and get you one. Uh-oh, I'm stuck. Oh, nope. Let's go out the other way. So yeah, I can extend that if you guys want me to. But so yeah, there's that. What else we got going on? Like I said on part 1, Dennis Carroll's coming in tomorrow, or not tomorrow, next week. Sorry. We're talking about werewolves and vampires. Always a cool subject. I love to do that. Let's see here. And then that's all that I'm going to announce for the moment. Let's see. I hope you guys all checked out the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival. All the footage I showed, that was a really good time. I had a lot of fun doing that and hanging out with everybody up there. Let's see here. Yeah, great point, Pam. Patreon. Y'all, please go check out the Patreon. That is what funds the trips out there into the woods where I get to go catch a giant monkey or whatever pops up. That is what gets me the equipment to be able to get you guys better stuff. Even though with the equipment that I have so far, I've been doing pretty good. I mean, the stuff with Harley so far is great. I guess I could give an update. Oh, wait. Well, before I get off, chase squirrels. Right. So the Patreon, $1 a month. So, $1 make you holla. Help a brother out and help me get out there. Let's see here. So the documentary with Harley is going good. I just got all the footage basically arranged in the way that I wanted. So that part is done. I've got half of the footage now adjusted for the contrast to make it look as visually appealing as possible. So that'll be done very soon. Then we just got to do some voiceovers where it's appropriate, readjust the music, and I got to create my intro and the end credits because I'm trying to do it right? And so yeah, that won't be too much longer before that's took care of and done. What else is going on? Yeah. That's probably good enough. Spotify, I'm slacking off on. Same with Rumble because they've been giving me issues, but I'll get that up and going back to where it needs to be real soon. Let's see. I think that's really it. Not unless you guys got something you want to add in there that I can pop up on the screen. How do I do Patreon? Well, you just go to patreon.com and you search for my name. Yep, you can download the app on your phone as well. They have an app. And yeah, you just sign up. Like I said, $1 a month. $1 make you holla. Helps Fisher go out there. And I put extra stuff out there, on the Patreon. Like, every time I have a guest on, I've been doing my best recently, if you guys have noticed, to have an overtime episode for y'all. So I've got 2 or 3 up right now, I think, with that. And plus I do all the musings from the car, all the behind the scenes stuff that I do when I do it. Let's see. Oh, yeah, and like I said on the last episode, right? The behind the scenes story that I filmed while out there in Townsend filming for documentary number 3 for Relic Films with Greg and them. Like, while we weren't able to get out and we were still without water and we were drinking lots of rum, the funny drunken stories that are told, Lord, it's hilarious. That story alone is worth $1. I promise you. You will be rolling. You might get disgusted too, because Adam's stories about eating monkeys while out in the Congo is a bit graphic, but it's hilarious. It really is. So yeah, go out there and check it out, guys. It really is a good time, and I love to drop the extra stuff too. It's fun. I'm so thankful when my guests are willing to. I try to make them around like 15 minutes to 20 minutes or so. Of course, the last one I did with Harley, he gave me like 30 minutes or so. Like, so it's almost an entire episode in and of itself, So it's cool. It's worth checking out. It's worth checking out. See if I can't convince Dennis to do one too. We'll see. But guys, I think that's all I got for y'all tonight. And I hope that the information that I brought out there, and granted, I know I'm not the most eloquent with reading things off and diving down deep into it. I'm not a good teacher, as I explained. Teaching is not what I do. I go and fight wars spiritually, and I tell stories. That's what I do. I don't do teaching or preaching or whatever very well. That's not what I'm called to do. I'm meant to just go out there and face down a dog, man, with nothing but a knife and a pistol, and not be scared and catch it on video. You are. Yeah, if you say so. If you say so. But the moral is I hope that you guys kind of got a bit of a foundation of what I'm trying to put down. Like, I want you guys to be picking up what I'm putting down and be like, okay, this is interesting information. Like, I'm trying to plant those seeds. That's what the goal of the podcast actually is. I don't typically come at you guys hitting you all over the head with the Bible. It's not what I normally do. It's what I was told specifically not to do by the Holy Spirit, right? I am out here to garden. I want to plant those seeds in you guys and make y'all curious and say, let's look into what he's saying. Okay, this looks cool. Let's find out more information. Okay, I want you guys to go and seek the living waters. Got to water them seeds. I'm here to just plant and garden. I want y'all to go and see if I'm correct. Like, don't just take anything I say, for it. Like, go find out. See if what I'm saying is making sense. Think of every time you hear any story. Doesn't matter if it's from me or not. What are these threads that we're picking up on from these stories? Whether it's somebody like that we all know or a story that we all know, like when I went over Betty and Barney Hill, right? This whole, for instance, them feeling electrified, and then of course them taking, electrified, EMF, right? Electromagnetic radiation. They're feeling the staticky, tingly feeling. This is reported in all cryptid and paranormal stories, right? Doesn't matter if it's ghost or Bigfoot. People report that all the time. And then, as I was going down to, because I love chasing squirrels, I squirrel out. Barney and Betty both had their genetic material taken from them. Eggs and sperm were both taken from them. I just showed you the whys tonight. You know what I'm saying? So and then just take like just a random like viewer story that you hear from me that I bring out or from somebody else. What are these common threads that we can pick out from them? Okay. Do they link back? They always do. They always do. You know. And I'm gonna, like I said, also I'm gonna have more educated and eloquent people come on to be able to tell you these things better than the way that I described it. Because, like I said, you know. So I want to get you guys prepared for that because I don't want things to just straight up blow your mind. I want you guys to be a little bit prepared, a little bit more grounded, and be like, and know the questions to ask yourselves. That way you can go find it. And granted, shoot me a message. I'm happy to help. If I can help you, I will. So there's that, And if you guys need anything from me, I'm pretty easy to get in contact with. Shoot me a message. I usually respond. I'm pretty nice. I'm your friendly neighborhood spam man. So yeah. But yeah. I hope I was able to do some good. Hopefully. Anybody out there is going through some stuff and you need some prayers, I got you. Oh, Greg's here. What's up, Greg? How you doing, buddy? It's good to see ya. Good show tonight on Paul's. Oh, you know what? On that note, y'all go check out Paranormal Paul. He had Greg Ogles on. It was a great show. I was able to catch most of it. He did a good job, as always. And, oh, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I believe I'm going to be on the Cryptid podcast on YouTube with Dan on the 12th. Let me make sure that's his name. Hold on, guys. Bear with me. Yeah, the Cryptid podcast. If I was able to actually put a link up, I would. But, wait, no. Yeah, so check me out. I'll be premiering on the 12th. We're going to be doing, let's see here. What did I do? I shared some cryptid stories and shared some stuff that I've experienced with filming with Greg and with Harley. Nothing that made it on camera, Greg. No worries. I know. But yeah, so that'll be a good time. I don't remember how long that lasted, but I believe that'll be on the 12th. And Greg's on there too, so go check that out too. Yeah, go check out Paul's stuff. Go check out Paul. There's the email. You guys get a hold of me. That being said, get a hold of me with your stories. I'm happy to have y'all on. Or if you're too camera shy and you just want your stories out there, I'm happy to tell them for you. So, let's let them know what we saw. Well, guys, I think I'm tired. Everybody's tired. I'm sorry for coming on to finish up part 2 so late. So let's get out of here, shall we? So you guys know the drill. I love you. Tookie. Where's it at? There it is. Yeah, there it is. Peace.
How it's supposed to feel.